So what if the most profitable artificial intelligence companies of the next decade don't write a single line of code?
Which sounds completely backward, right?
Right. I mean, I want you to really think about that for a second. Today, we're doing a deep dive into this hidden sector of the tech world. Businesses are out there making millions by taking bleeding edge AI, slapping their own logo on it, and just taking all the credit.
Yeah, it's a massive structural shift in how we even think about software development now. Like, you no longer have to be that genius inventor in the garage to own the intellectual property or, well, at least to own the revenue stream that comes from it.
Exactly. So, welcome to the deep dive. Our sources today include this really fascinating article called Scaling MSP Profits with Private Label AI Platforms. And our mission here is to unpack exactly how managed service providers, MSPs, the folks who handle IT and cybersecurity for other businesses, how they're using private label AI to just completely skip the agonizing research and development phase.
Skipping the heavy lifting entirely.
Right. We're going to explore how they take this invisible tech, bundle it up, and turn it into highly predictable monthly recurring revenue.
And, doing it all while a hidden partner in the background carries the massive burden of keeping that AI actually functioning. It just fundamentally changes the financial trajectory of a service business.
It really does, and I love the mechanics of this because to me it feels like a culinary trick.
A culinary trick.
Yeah, like, okay, imagine a chef opening a breathtaking high-end restaurant right in the middle of the city. The dining room is gorgeous, the menus are embossed with the chef's name, the waiters are in, like, bespoke uniforms.
Okay, I'm with you.
But there is a ghost kitchen 3 towns over that is actually doing all the chopping, all the sautéing, and making the secret sauce. The ghost kitchen pipes the food in, but the chef on the floor gets all the Michelin stars.
That is a great analogy. The ghost kitchen is a perfect starting point. Though, I mean, in the tech world, that kitchen is constantly redesigning the menu while the diners are still eating.
Oh, wow. Yeah, good point.
But to understand how this generates such predictable revenue,
Yeah,
you first have to look at the crushing reality of trying to build AI from scratch.
right. Because if you're an MSP managing a local law firm's network security, you don't exactly have the capital to just go out and build a neural network.
Far from it. I mean, if you decide to build an AI platform today, you are looking at millions in upfront capital. Oh,
Millions.
easily. You have to secure exorbitant server space, massive compute power. You have to somehow recruit specialized AI engineers away from the big tech giants, which is nearly impossible. And then once you finally build the model, the work has barely started.
Because it gets outdated instantly.
Exactly. AI experiences what's called model drift. It requires constant training, constant patching, and just constant innovation to stay relevant.
So it's basically an endless treadmill of R&D.
Exactly. But the private label model cuts the power to that treadmill completely. The MSP resells proven AI technology under their own brand. The technology partner, the vendor, they act as that ghost kitchen.
They handle the messy stuff.
Right. They manage the server costs, the complex back-end infrastructure. They absorb the entire evolutionary burden of making sure the AI gets smarter every single week.
Which frees up the MSP to do the one thing the algorithm can't do, right? Like take the client out to lunch.
Yes.
The MSP focuses entirely on sales, onboarding, relationship management. So the MSP is essentially acting as the face of the operation.
They do. They become the trusted face. And economically, this division of labor is what unlocks true scalability.
How so?
Well, normally in a service business, your revenue and your operational overhead, they move together. Like, if you sign 20 new clients, you have to hire 3 new IT technicians just to handle the increased ticket volume.
Right, so your revenue goes up, but your payroll just eats all the margin.
Exactly. But with this private label AI handling the frontline work, the revenue goes up and the payroll stays flat. It's pure leverage. You're essentially renting someone else's multi-million-dollar R&D budget for a fraction of the cost.
That's wild. Which I guess brings us to the core mechanism of the business model itself. Because having a great piece of hidden technology is one thing. Actually monetizing it to create a predictable business is another entirely.
Predictability is the ultimate goal here.
Right. So let's get into the packaging. Because you can't just walk into a client's office and say, hey, do you want to buy some AI?
Yeah, no one buys that.
It's too abstract. People don't buy AI, they buy solutions to their headaches. And this is where, according to the source, subscription tiers come into play.
Tiers are the bridge between abstract technology and concrete business value. MSPs take these incredibly complex AI capabilities and bundle them into very specific, understandable packages.
Okay, so picture this. It's a Monday morning at a mid-sized accounting firm. Over the weekend, let's say 30 different employees locked themselves out of their
A
accounts.
classic Monday.
Right. Normally, the MSP's human help desk technician sits down at 8 a.m., sees 30 password reset tickets, and has to spend the next 3 hours manually verifying identities and clicking reset. I mean, it's mind-numbing work.
It is. Now, apply the private label AI to that same scenario. The MSP creates a, let's call it Tier 1 intelligent triage subscription. With this tier, the AI instantly intercepts those 30 tickets the moment they're submitted.
Oh, before a human even sees them.
Exactly. It categorizes them, validates the user's identity based on their network footprint, executes the password reset, and closes the ticket. By the time the human technician logs on at 8 a.m., the work is already done.
Wow. And the MSP didn't just sell machine learning, they sold a zero-wait help desk package.
Yes.
They bundle these specific automated workflows into distinct tiers. So maybe tier 1 is that basic triage, tier 2 includes automated customer follow-ups, and maybe tier 3 is predictive network maintenance. And they sell these tiers as an integrated part of the overall monthly service fee.
That is how you drive that predictable monthly recurring revenue, or MRR. You are upselling a capability that costs you very little on the margin to deploy, but it provides immense, visible value to the end client.
Okay, hold on. Stop right there because I have to push back on this. There is a massive contradiction in the source here. These subscription tiers are usually sold on month-to-month contracts, right?
Right.
If a client can just wake up on a random Tuesday and decide to cancel their AI subscription with zero penalty,
Wow.
how on earth can an MSP rely on that revenue? I mean, that doesn't sound predictable at all. That sounds like a massive churn risk waiting to happen.
I know, it looks incredibly fragile on paper, absolutely.
Yeah.
But when you look at how AI actually functions in a daily work environment, there is a very powerful retention mechanism at play.
Yeah.
It all comes down to operational stickiness.
Stickiness. Walk us through how that actually counters the risk of a month-to-month contract.
Okay, so the month-to-month flexibility is actually a strategic lure. It radically lowers the barrier to entry.
Oh, because they're not locked in?
Right. A client might be hesitant to sign a 3-year ironclad agreement for an AI tool they don't really fully understand yet. But a month-to-month add-on, that's an easy yes.
Yeah.
It gets the technology through the door.
Okay, so they're in. What stops them from leaving 2 months later?
The fact that the AI stops being a novelty and becomes the invisible plumbing of the client's business. Going back to your password reset example,
Yeah.
after 3 months of having the zero-wait help desk, the client's employees are used to getting their passwords reset in 4 seconds. The MSP's human technicians are used to focusing on high-level network strategy instead of, resetting passwords.
Oh, I see where this is going.
If the client decides to cancel that month-to-month contract just to save a few bucks, what happens? The entire workflow collapses overnight.
Wow. Yeah, those 30 Monday morning tickets are suddenly back on a human's desk. The employees are waiting hours to log in. The technicians are miserable. Nobody wants to go backward.
Exactly. It's the ultimate try before you buy, except by the time the trial is over, you literally cannot function without it.
If you rip out the AI, you break the company. So the low barrier to entry gets them in, but the high operational reliance ensures they never leave. That is a brilliantly sneaky way to lock in customer retention without forcing a lock-in contract.
It is. But stickiness doesn't just happen in a vacuum. For an AI to become that deeply embedded, it cannot just be another tab open on a technician's web browser.
Right, because then it's just extra work.
Exactly. If your team has to manually switch windows, log into a separate portal, and copy-paste information just to use the AI, they will simply forget to use it. The friction destroys the stickiness.
Which brings up the absolute necessity of seamless integrations. The AI has to live inside the house the MSP has already built. We're talking about core tools like PSAs, professional services, automation, and RMMs, remote monitoring and management.
Right.
For anyone outside of IT listening, these are essentially the nervous system of an IT business. It's where the tickets live, where the billing happens, where the network alerts flash.
In CRMs, customer relationship management systems, a standalone AI tool that sits off to the side is practically useless. It must be woven directly into the PSA and RMM dashboards. But, it's not just about where the AI lives, it's about what the AI actually produces. There is a critical distinction in the source between an AI that offers mere suggestions and an AI that delivers action-ready outputs.
Okay, I think about it like this. It's the difference between an AI handing you a paper map to read versus an AI actually driving the car to the destination.
Exactly.
Like, if the AI analyzes a server alert and pops up a message saying, hey, I suggest you restart the primary server, well, that's the paper map. A human still has to read it, log into the server environment, find the right server, and click restart. You saved maybe 10 seconds of diagnostic time.
The self-driving car analogy is close, but let's take it a step further. It's not just a self-driving car. It's a self-driving car that also logs its own mileage, bills the client, and schedules its own oil changes, all within the dashboard you already use.
That's crazy.
Yeah. An action-ready output means the AI analyzes the alert, determines a restart is needed, and either presents a single execute restart button right inside the PSA, or, based on pre-approved rules, just executes the restart automatically and logs a note in the ticket.
So it actually does the work. It doesn't just hold a clipboard and advise on the work.
Right. When the AI acts autonomously within the systems the team already uses, that is when true operational reliance forms.
But wait, if the AI is inside the client systems doing all this incredible autonomous work, who gets the credit? Because if the clients start seeing pop-ups and emails from generic AI vendor Inc., they're going to realize the MSP isn't the one actually doing the magic.
Which is why the ghost kitchen must remain completely unseen by the diners. Selling private labeled solutions hinges entirely on protecting the brand. The end client must perceive the MSP as the sole provider of this technological wizardry.
So we need aggressive white labeling capabilities. I need to be able to slap my MSP's logo on the dashboard. I need the interface to match my company's color hex codes. When the AI automatically emails a client to say a ticket is resolved, that email has to come from my domain name, not the vendor's.
Complete control over the communication channel is non-negotiable. I mean, if a client receives a highly technical email from a third-party vendor they've never even heard of, it introduces a gap in the relationship.
Makes them wonder what they're paying you for.
Exactly. It creates confusion. And more importantly, it erodes the trust the MSP has spent years cultivating. You must be the single point of contact.
But if having total control over the brand and the interface is so important, it makes me wonder, why wouldn't an MSP just try to build this themselves? Like, if you're a decent-sized tech company, isn't there a massive temptation to just hire a few developers, rent some cloud space, and build an AI engine from the ground up so it is 100% bespoke to your exact needs?
It is a massive temptation, and it is also one of the most dangerous traps in this entire industry. The pursuit of over-customization will kill an MSP's margins faster than almost anything else.
Really? Why is it a trap? I mean, if you build it, you own it forever. There's no vendor fees.
Because you don't just own the software, you own the maintenance. You own the bug fixes, the late-night server crashes, and the massive R&D budget required to keep the model from becoming obsolete in 6 months.
Oh, the treadmill again.
Right. MSPs do not need unlimited customization to be competitive. What they actually need is targeted flexibility.
Targeted flexibility, meaning I want to choose the paint color, the leather seats, and the radio stations, but I absolutely do not want to machine my own transmission.
Precisely. You want the ability to configure your specific workflows, set up your unique ticket triage rules, and control the branding. You customize the areas that directly touch your daily operations and your client's experience, but you rely on the vendor to build and maintain the core underlying engine. It's a philosophy of integration-driven customization over rebuilding. You connect and configure. You don't pour concrete.
Right, because the second you start pouring concrete and building the engine yourself, you've taken on the exact operational overhead you were trying to avoid in the first place. Now, when the AI breaks at 2 a.m., your engineers are waking up to fix it instead of the vendor's engineers. You've completely destroyed the scalability of the model.
And scalability is the true test of this entire strategy. Let's say you've got the beautifully branded, deeply integrated, highly sticky product. The subscription tiers are selling, the MRR is flowing. Then you land a massive contract and your client base doubles overnight.
A good problem to have.
Usually. But if your platform isn't structurally designed to scale, your success will break your business.
So what does a scalable structure actually look like behind the scenes? Like, if you're an MSP evaluating these vendors, what are the red flags?
The first critical element is multi-tenant architecture.
Walk us through what that actually means in practice.
Okay, imagine spinning up a custom single-family home for every single new client you sign. You have to pour a new foundation, run new plumbing, hook up new electricity. In software, that's called a dedicated instance. It takes forever to deploy, it's incredibly expensive to run, and if you need to update the software, you have to drive to every single individual house to install the update.
That sounds like an operational nightmare if you have 100 clients.
It is. Multi-tenant architecture, on the other hand, is like a high-tech, highly secure apartment building. Everyone shares the massive, robust, centralized infrastructure, the heavy-duty plumbing and power, but each individual apartment is locked tight with its own key.
So the data doesn't mix.
Right. The data is completely segregated and secure, but the vendor only has to maintain one central building. That allows the MSP to onboard a new client in minutes, not weeks.
Okay, so multi-tenant architecture is a must. What about pricing? If I double my ticket volume because the AI is doing such a great job, is the vendor going to penalize me?
That's the second structural element. Flexible pricing that rewards growth rather than taxing it. If a vendor's pricing model cuts deeply into your margins the moment you start processing higher volumes, your growth becomes a financial liability. You need tiered or usage-based models that actually align with your own MAP subscription tiers.
That makes total sense. And then there's the human element of scaling. When things go wrong, and in IT, things always go wrong eventually, who actually answers the phone?
Establishing clear support boundaries is vital. There must be a strict division of labor when it comes to troubleshooting. The MSP must handle Tier 1 support.
So the basic stuff like my dashboard won't load or I forgot how to access the reports. The MSP handles that to keep the client relationship strong and maintain the illusion that it's all their proprietary tech.
Correct. But the vendor must handle Tier 2 and Tier 3 support completely invisibly in the background. If the neural network suddenly starts hallucinating and, routing all the critical finance tickets to the graphic design department.
Which happens.
It does. The MSP's technicians shouldn't be the ones trying to debug a machine learning algorithm.
They wouldn't even know how.
Exactly. The vendor steps in, fixes the core engine, and pushes the update across that multi-tenant architecture, all without the end client ever knowing the vendor exists. If an MSP finds themselves having to renegotiate their pricing plans or re-architect their internal operations every single time they onboard a batch of 10 new clients, the platform has failed them.
Right, because if you have to break your own workflows just to grow, you aren't really scaling. You're just stretching until you snap. So if you're an MSP listening to this, the journey we've mapped out today fundamentally redefines your business model. You don't have to build the impossible machine. By leveraging a private label AI platform, you can take incredibly complex technology, bundle it into simple subscription tiers, and sell it under your own name. The month-to-month flexibility gets your clients in the door, but because the AI embeds itself so deeply into their daily workflows, taking action rather than just giving advice, it becomes impossible to rip out.
It really does.
That stickiness translates to rock-solid, predictable, monthly recurring revenue. And while you focus on the client, the hidden vendor manages the crushing weight of the infrastructure and the advanced support.
It is a brilliantly optimized system. You capture the financial upside of technological innovation without absorbing the operational drag of technological maintenance.
It really is. But, it leaves me with one final, slightly provocative thought to mull over. We've established that the hidden vendor is doing all the heavy lifting on the tech side, the development, the multi-tenant architecture, the deep bug fixes. And we've established that the AI itself is doing the actual daily work, the ticket triage, the password resets, the server restarts.
Yeah, that's the reality of the model. Yeah.
So, if the vendor handles the technology and the algorithm handles the labor, then the MSP's ultimate product isn't actually technology or labor at all anymore.
It changes the entire value proposition.
The product is purely trust. It is brand presence. It is human relationship management. Which makes you wonder, as AI continues to get better and private labeling becomes more ubiquitous, will tomorrow's most successful tech companies even need to know how to write a single line of code? Or will deep empathy, impeccable branding, and knowing how to find a really, really good ghost kitchen be the only skills that actually matter?
It's a fascinating question, and looking at the trajectory of these platforms, we may find out the answer sooner rather than later.
Something to keep in mind the next time you log into a beautifully branded software dashboard. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.